It's Friday night. Everybody should be out running around, partying, having fun. But instead, there's absolutely nowhere to go and nothing to do. So, what better excuse to stay home and nerd out, geek the heck out on a Friday night, and make some weird sounds? Honestly, I couldn't think of a better, funner thing to do. Sketch22 thought I would only make it to 20, but I was having so much fun that I feel like I kind of just want to keep it going. And we'll just see how far we get. Honestly, there's no expectations, no real pressures. So anyway, I'm going to shut up and really get to it. So, as per usual, I am going to start out with something that I'm not super familiar with. And how about we mess with this tension here? And like last time, we were working with the drum rack. I think I want to try to give that a shot. I think there's a lot of ground to cover with that. I learned so much with the last sketch. Honestly, yeah. The whole vocoder tonal thing was really interesting for me. So maybe we'll play with some of that in this sketch, or not. No pressure. I try to just follow the whim of the ideas as they pop into the brain, usually informed by some of the sounds that ultimately come out. Like, I have no idea what this is going to sound like. I'm just going to hit play, and it's going to sound absolutely amazing. Just the coolest sounding. So bad. It's so bad. Kind of makes you want to die. I wish we could switch between these somehow. I don't even think with Max for Live there's a way to switch through the presets. With the device that I showed in the last... Oh, I guess I need to save this so we can even see the devices. Let's save it real quick. Honestly, this preset isn't terrible. So once you save it inside of the project folder, everything should show up. Looks like it's taking its sweet time, so we'll just get back to what I was thinking about doing. Yeah, any day now, Ableton, any day now. I like what I'm hearing. It's kind of... I see the body is the kind of reverb sound that we're getting. There's a lot to this one. It's a beast. So yeah, I'm going to try to turn that down just a little bit. Let us get a little MIDI gate going, just like last time. And I do want to also first hear what it sounds like pitched way down. It's kind of fascinating. It's got a very metal shininess to it. All right. So obviously there's a long tail on this particular preset. So what I'll do is pull this off the grid here. We got some very noir video happening here. Looks like bacteria or something or the other. Not really sure, but maybe we can make some sounds that fit with that. Or not. Honestly, no point in being caged in when you're just trying to have fun and explore. But it is fun to have goals, and if you meet those goals, it usually feels pretty nice. It's kind of a cool little psychological reward thing. I think the key, one key anyway, is to learn how to not feel bad if those goals aren't met. Obviously, if you got a deadline, like a record label wants to put something out and they need a track by a certain time, yeah, you know, it's never a bad idea at that point to try and fulfill that goal. But if you're just sketching and you have some ideas, well, if you don't get to all those ideas, you know, no hard feelings. I also want to hear what the pitch bend will do. It's not super noticeable at this with the pitch so low here. Let's add some chance in there. So we're playing some. So now we have with the scale way up, it can play some really high notes, I think. Let's just use add since we're already starting from such a low spot. Okay, very scrapey and textural. And we really got to animate some of these knobs on this tension instrument. So first things first, let's go ahead and set up our automation lane. Got my keyboard shortcuts, doing a lot of cool stuff for me. I'm just so proud of those. Something that I had thought of for so long that I wanted. And luckily these sketches kind of inspired me to go down the road of researching online to find out what are the little tidbits that I need to put into my scripts to make that all work. And it wasn't too hard, surprisingly. There was a little debugging. It took about I want to say an hour and a half to get it all working. All right, are you moving on your own? Yes, you are. So it's looking good. Let's go ahead and clear up some of that. I'm gonna we'll get a little more of a smooth transition there. All right, and I'm hoping that by saving before we turn on our clip automation record function that we don't get the crashes. I just have a weird feeling that a lot of automation data was getting, I don't know, sometimes I get the hunch, and if we don't get a crash for a long time after this, I'll know that was a good hunch. You just never know, but I guess we want to fix this to be a little more off-grid, and let's go ahead and keep yanking on that knob. That sounds really bad, but it's Friday night, so you know, could say things like yank on that knob and it's all good because we're just talking about a friction knob. Also sounds bad. It's like some kind of physics, science nerd shit right there. Got some mice squeaks happening in there. Go ahead and turn off clip automation quantize. Yeah, so more in the textural zone at this point. And I'm curious now what it's going to sound like if we make less of a gate thing go down here so we get more notes coming through. Termination. Yeah, what does that do? I really need to spend more time trying to learn exactly what these knobs do. But it's also just kind of fun to just move knobs around and see what happens. Looks like we got ourselves a little crash. Well, I'm going to pause this and then restart Ableton. Okay, now we're back in the saddle after a annoying crash, but you know, at least it gave me a second to wet my whistle there, get a little drink, and you know, light some candles and get the sound design romance thing in full effect. So yeah, obviously saving before flinging around these, you know, fing knobs didn't really do the trick. So the only other guess is that maybe because I'm using a trackball mouse and I'm able to move the mouse so fast that Ableton is, I have no idea, honestly. Could be so many random things causing this crash. Could just straight up be a bug that Ableton needs to fix. And maybe they already have in a beta. Who knows? Maybe I just need to go a little slower. Just need to take it slow. Ableton is like, take it slow, man. Take it slow. Let's try that again. We didn't get any random start position there, but that's much better. Sounding very modular synth-esque. Honestly, I feel like this tension instrument sounds so nice and smooth that it could be an actual physical hardware module, and you know, it could stand up sonically. I'm surprised Applied Acoustics hasn't made actual Eurorack modules, or maybe they have. I'm not a huge Eurorack person myself, but I totally appreciate the medium. I, you know, love to watch and listen when it's done well. Unfortunately, and maybe this just goes for so many styles of music, it, you know, oftentimes just sounds really kind of uninspired, boring, or, you know, like they just didn't really try very hard to get something interesting and sort of, you know, with some interesting movement and evolution. You know, there's just, unfortunately, a low bar these days in terms of music. Maybe it's just so easy to make that, you know, people aren't trying as much, you know, and you don't really have to, because the bar is at that point where, who knows, honestly. I mean, it is, let's just call it as it is. It's a pain in the ass to actually make good music, to make interesting sounding things. It takes up a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of experimentation, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And honestly, you know, I can see a lot of people when they get started not having the stomach for that. You just kind of want to get it pieces done and out there so you can get high, you know, high off the appreciation. Wow, I sure don't appreciate Ableton right now. Okay, let's try this again. Having a lot of fun with crashes, you know, but it is a part of life. Just got to roll with it, honestly. It could be my trackball mouse. I'm trying to narrow it down in my mind, you know, with each crash, just kind of try to remember what exactly was I doing in that moment. I don't exactly have the most normal of setups here. You know, I could be pushing the system a bit much. Who knows? Let's get some automation going here. I'm really automating as much as I can tonight. Really automating as much as I can in life. Do you like some of the sounds I'm hearing? Cool. Let's see what's in the filter global section. Oh yeah, good old envelope. Not sure what this is controlling right now, but fun little LFO happening here. Yeah, I definitely want to automate that. Cool. Let us throw a vocoder in here and see what we get if we add an external source from this track. It's crazy that it lets you do that. I love playing with vocoders. They always lend such bizarre results. Yeah, there's almost like kick drum sounds coming out of there. I bet if we dropped in a drum bus here, we'll get some serious boom. Yeah. Got some crazy percussions happening. And a distortion that is just nuts. Obviously, we got to pull some of that down. Maybe from the drive, that's probably where the distortion is happening. Let's see, if we put a tremolo with a rate of 1/4. Let's try only 4 bands. Drum rack pre-effects. Maybe we should try post effects. And let's put this back at 20. And a little bit of reverb might help. Cool. I'm going to pull some audio from the drum rack channel using this gate here. As I love to do, turn on this audition button, and now we get a let's go ahead and add in a limiter here. Might help change some things. Now, I was going to do something on this layer. I had an idea. another vocoder in here. Modulator, let's add an external from Rack Post Effects. And vocoder. And Ableton, sometimes it just hiccups. Yeah, it's weird, and it is only this particular PC that has this problem. So maybe there's just something off about this particular. This is a Dell Tower. It's like 16 cores or something. 24 gigs of RAM. It is quite stacked, but I think Ableton seems to not be totally stable on it, whereas on my Hackintosh, and that's Windows 7, whereas this is Windows 10, so who knows. But on the Windows 7 Hackintosh, no crashes whatsoever. It seems to be, so far, I think I've done about half these sketches on the Hackintosh, and no problems. No crashes on the Hackies. I do like the interaction happening between these two layers. They are influencing each other. In fact, I think I want to see what will happen if we pull from vocoder here, post effects, yeah. It's not as dramatic, is it? So, okay, so let's try just pulling from here, then post effects. Gosh, I wish I could animate these right here. That would be rather interesting. Okay, third time, fourth time's a charm, something like that. I think we're going for the new world record of most crashes in with Ableton in a 1 hour period. Probably could also be that this computer has not been rebooted and ages. It could be a lot of things. I've got my hunches. So we'll just try to go a little slower and take it a little easier with Ableton. Obviously, Ableton is tired and doesn't want to party on a Friday night. So maybe we'll just draw in things a lot more by hand and whipping stuff around with the trackball mouse like I love to do so much. I am appreciating some of the melodic stuff, sort of juicy melodics. Very squeaky tweaky. So if we pull this down, what happens? Cool. Modulations. Almost just kind of want to draw in. As much as I love my, you know, yanking on the knobs and slamming them around, jerking them around, it's crashing Ableton. So I think I'm just gonna, you know, play with this this pin tool here a lot. So maybe we'll move on and play with a, let's drag in the analog here. Some bass. Bass in your face. Just dorking out. Dorking out real hard tonight. All right, let's try the sin only here. Well, actually, that sounds nice and juicy. I do like this. I wanna mess with this on record. Cool. Let us. And my fingers are crossed, my toes are crossed. We don't get another crash. At least the positive is that the recovery from the crash has been 100%, so no loss of anything. So that's good. I also wanted to animate this silly thing. Okay, no crashes. Let's try this other oscillator. I know there's a way to, well, we've also got noise, I guess, with this we can play with. Yeah, let's have the noise only bust in every now and then. Going for a bit more of a noisy situation with all these sounds together. I forget how we mix between F1 and F2. I think it's this here and then. Let's turn the envelope down on this. There we go. Now we've kind of got two separate. Like a crazy modular synth that has just gone a little off the deep end. But I enjoy that kind of nonsense, kind of madness. I do also like the these two oscillators having a really low slow kind of I want to hear what happens if we take this analog track, layer, whatever, and then we... Ableton is struggling tonight. And then if we pull sidechain, and what happens if we throw in a real tight echo? This kind of sounds like it's in a room, conference room, or maybe the janitor closet. And if we slow things down a little bit. This is one of those situations where I think you would benefit with putting, say, the audio treasure in there. I am curious to see what different tempos do. I would assume the audio treasure is not controlled by the tempo, it's got its own internal... and I think we definitely want to put the limiter first, because I'm sure the audio treasure is clipping. Yeah, so maybe a little too much gain on this side chain. I think we maybe want to put this compressor also before the reverb. And I want to hear what... Where is the vocoder on here? Sometimes I get lost and I can't find the certain things. Okay. What happens with the release really high on this? Madness. If we give this some pretty standard tunings, let's add an auto filter here. Kind of sort of tame some of the shrewy high end. Maybe there's a little too much added there. Maybe we'll pull this up closer to the 10K. Yeah, now I want to automate this. Let's go ahead and add in a bunch there and pull this. Alright. And pray to the gods that we get no crashes. Let's dial some of this resonation back a little bit. I did like some of the gurgly analog stuff coming through. Let's go ahead and group this and create an empty MIDI track. Call this group effects. Call this creature. And I want to route into group effects from creature using the gate. Let's say post effects. Send only you, and then audition to get you to come over there. Perfect. So definitely a whole other landscape when you pitch down this far. I almost want to pause the video and do two renderings. One at my current 48 kilohertz, which is what we're hearing right now through the video. But also try one at 192 just to hear the difference. So I'm going to pause the video and go through that little legwork and come back and we can have a listen to see what the difference will be. And actually I also want to add in a little erosion just to see if there's also some difference between 192 and maybe just a little overdrive. Sounding very lo-fi currently. Very crusty. Okay, so pausing and then we'll come back after the renders. Okay, so I've got two renders here. I've got a 48 one and a 192 one. Let's just go ahead and listen to a little bit of the 48 one. Gotcha, and let's do the 192 one. So I don't know about you, but I think the 192 one sounds significantly better. It is way just smoother. It's not as crusty. I feel like you can really hear the digital lo-fi-ness of some of these effects here, especially this erosion. In the 48 one, it's just you know, and maybe you want that crust. Maybe you like a little bit of that I think in like, 20 years when everything sounds pristinely analog, and some of this old school whatever bit digital crust from Ableton, back in the old 2020 days. I think that maybe it'll be a thing we'll strive for. I find myself using some old plugins from ages ago, from the early 2000s, and they sound pretty gritty and disgusting, but I actually do kind of like that sound, and maybe it is a familiarity that takes me back to a time where things seemed a bit less chaotic and more, innocent. Who knows? Whatever that nostalgia, the drive towards seeking and finding nostalgia, whatever it is, but it's funny that you could actually find that in a plugin or a distortion type, but it's true. So also, yeah, I think we pitched this one way down. Definitely sounding a bit more ominous, but a lot of the tones are really nice. So yeah, if you really want to be able to pitch things up way high or down, well, really pitching way high, it almost doesn't, I don't think it matters quite as much if it's a 192 file as much as pitching down. You have more resolution to play with as it's being sort of pitched down and stretched out. So anyway, little rabbit hole excursion there, but just goes to show. Now that crust, that digital crust, is very prevalent. It goes to show, it's a good idea to sometimes render things out at the highest you can go, and try this on some different plugins. Honestly, I mostly only notice the difference with, say, distortion type plugins. Dramatic differences with the Ableton, a lot of the Ableton ones. Some of them, like the EQ8, I can't tell any difference on. So gonna just set up a set of follow actions here. And let's automate some of these. That is just way too clicky, this wet and dry. I always forget to put it in the wet and dry effect rack preset of mine, and automate this instead. Click on that. Turn down my Ableton feed and OBS Studio just a little bit. Okay. This could make a fun little intro or a little interlude between some beats, or even just it could be a track of its own that, you know, is a kind of a shorter piece in between more substantial songs. You know, it's got that explorative, playful, kind of adventurous spirit. You could also throw in, you know, let me drop in the simpler. Let's use the simpler. And just so we're keeping all the files in the same project, to make sure we're using this digital sign here, I need to go ahead and delete these experiments. You can do your own experiments at home with this, render it out at whatever you want. Feel free to tweak, play around with. Make your own creation out of the project files that I'm including. There's probably some jag out there who's thinking, you know, I'll just render this out and call it my own, and, you know, doesn't. At least, you know, don't be a jag, at least change a few things, you know, before you decide to call it your own and put it on your SoundCloud page or whatever lazy ass, you know, desperate cry for attention nonsense you gotta do. You know, nobody's knocking you for, like, you know, being a sad little schlup that just is desperately needing some affirmations. So you're gonna steal somebody else's stuff, remix it, you know, get in there and have some fun. Do something, you know, just do like I'm doing in these videos and just start moving knobs around and recording. And don't be shy. I did have somebody one time completely steal some stuff. I mean, a lot of artists, you know, who are, you know, have been around in the internet age of sharing music, you know, with MySpace, you know, etc., net labels, you know, we've all been ripped off for sure. It was a funny story. I remember, you know, back when MySpace was a thing, we all had our music on MySpace. Everybody was, you know, had their cool profile set up with a cool background image, some nonsense. But this guy writes me and he's like, oh, hey, I really love your music. You know, here's a link to my MySpace page. Check out some of my music. And I go there and I listen to it. And this guy was probably from, like, I don't know, Poland or who knows. And I listened to his songs, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, that is a song that I made. But it was for a side project that I did with this other guy, and we released it for free on a net label. It was like 2003 or 4, I don't even remember. And I remember but he had renamed the song. And I remember, you know, it was the only one, and there were other songs, and I was thinking immediately, like, wow, he's probably just taken other people's music and has just renamed it and is calling it his own. And I confronted him through a personal message and was like, what are you doing? This is my song from this project. You know, I made this. And of course he blocks me, you know, and thankfully he took the song down at that point, but he left the other ones up, you know. I think I busted him and he felt guilty about it, but it happens. It's annoying, and Lord knows I've got several of my songs that have been renamed and somebody else is calling it their own, and who knows. Unless you really are careful about copywriting your stuff, which is, you know, it's a big pain in the butt to do some paperwork. Well, you know, you're probably going to get ripped off if you don't take the extra time. But if you're like me and you're kind of just doing this whole thing for fun, you're not trying to get you know, cool points or money, as has always been the case for me with this stuff, then, you know, it's like not that big of a deal. You almost, when I first saw my music being torrented or whatever, I was actually really happy. I thought, well, cool, people are actually hearing it, you know. I'm not going to deny people listening to it. The first several mini releases of mine were put out for free, and I really feel like that's the most noble thing an artist can really do. It's the most, I don't know, beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to share, but plagiarism is a dirty thing, and you know, people's egos get the better of them. So I understand why people would take somebody else's song and rename it, you know. But it still don't make it right. So take any of these sketch pieces that I'm putting up and have fun with them. Make your own cool thing out of it. I do think, you know, having a starting point is always a good thing. Like presets, you know, I think presets are a great place to start, but my rule with presets for myself, and I would never impose my rules on anybody else as much as I can, except, you know, remix as much as you can, and the same goes with presets. I love using presets as a starting point, but remix them, you know, change the knobs up, do something, you know. But sometimes the presets, they just sound awesome right in the mix. So sometimes you can't touch them. You just gotta let it be beautiful as they are. And I always try to keep an ear out for, like, does this sound like a cliche? Does this sound like something that's already been done? And I try to avoid that kind of thing. Alright, so, you know, we've got ourselves a little beast here. We could obviously add beats and plenty of other types of things. I feel like I'm happy with this just being a textural excursion. A little bit of a dive down into the cave of weirdness. Just call this tone-ness. And sometimes I like to use this digital sign simpler preset. It really is the most CPU efficient. My live performance laptop is actually kind of a piece of garbage, and it honestly doesn't have a lot of CPU power, but it is so small and it's so light that it is really easy to travel with. So when I design live sets, you know, I'm using a lot of DSP stuff with sine waves, I really try to just use this simpler with the sine wave in it, which is included here, this basic digital sine. And you can have so many of these in your project, and it, you know, really is the most efficient. I might be the only one out there that cares about that kind of efficiency, but it's worth noting. There's nothing wrong with, you know, designing things efficiently. Maybe that's the German in my blood. I can't help it. Let's try maybe a high. And maybe we'll turn this down just a little bit. Let's try to hit space and shift together. I do like hitting space and shift together because you get these tails sometimes, as you've been hearing. And we've got all that here in audio treasure, which is such a treasure in and of itself. We could save this into our sketch explorations folder, and we'll just call this bit, and voila, you know, audio treasure. I couldn't recommend it more. I do want to make a mod of it that captures more than, I think it's just a minute that it captures, one that captures like several minutes. I think it's just recording it into RAM constantly. But some of these tails, you know, when you hit stop, I love that kind of stuff, that kind of haphazardous. Yeah, cool stuff. So hopefully you've enjoyed this as much as I have. Let's see what we got here. Very experimental. But you could even take this wave and run it further through other... Sometimes it's just fun to play with the pitches. Or the warp modes, for that matter. We haven't done a whole lot of messing around with samples, but there is a whole other world of cool, fun stuff to do with samples. And we'll get into some of that. I'm trying to keep the whole project folder pretty lightweight. But at some point we'll be busting out some samples. So yeah. Just a lot of options to explore down the road, really, and we haven't even scratched the surface with, you know, like Melda production plugins. Just some amazing options for sound design in there as well. But yeah, so until next time, have fun. Happy Friday.